Is being gay allowed in China? Actually, my best Serbian bro, he's bisexual, and right now he's in China and he has a Chinese boyfriend. And the city that I used to live, Chengdu, the one I mentioned before, with a lot of pretty girls, it has another name actually. It's called Gay City. So when you walk in the street, you can see guys holding hands, girls holding hands, kissing, whatever. It doesn't really matter, to be honest. Nobody really cares. And actually, even there were several times when I went out, some gay people approached me and they said they like me. Someone even tried to kiss me, and I refused, but with respect. Unfortunately, I'm not bisexual. Otherwise, I would have a 50 more chance. But yeah, I'm too straight. I just like girls. That's all. Officially, China don't encourage it, but it doesn't ban it either. You cannot get married in China if you are a gay couple. But other than that, you can do whatever you want, basically. Yeah. Actually, I even dated a lesbian girl once. She didn't know she was completely lesbian. At that time, she was still confused. But that's for another story.
What religion was your, I don't know if you're religious, but what your religion, your family?
I'm Chinese.
Yeah.
The more I travel to other worlds, the more I realize, even now in 21st century, there are still so many countries that are really religious. This is really surprising to me, especially when I come from China. Even throughout history, it's never been a country of religion. Yes, we have a lot of religion and we have a lot of gods and stuff like that, but Chinese people, they are so practical that they will worship one god, and if it doesn't work for them, they will just throw the god away and worship another. So in China, even throughout history and until nowadays, it's not about the people serving the gods. It's about the God serving the people. Religion never take over in a political way in China. So when you see Chinese people, even though they may say that they are Buddhism or Christian or whatever, but in the core, most of them are atheist. Because that's what we are throughout history. And right now, people think that we are like a communist party, a socialist party. This is all just ideologies. It doesn't really matter to us, to Chinese people. Whatever is useful, we use it. We always have a saying that it doesn't matter if it's a black cat or a white cat. As long as it can catch rat, it's a good cat. And that's the philosophy in China. Globally speaking, in history, we have 4 oldest civilizations: ancient Egypt, ancient Babylon, ancient India, and China. And China is the only Asian civilization that still continually from the old time to now. There were so many dynasties in Chinese history, like Tang Dynasty, Han Dynasty, Yuan, Ming, Qing Dynasty. So if you put all these dynasties together, China probably has over 1,000 years that has been the most powerful country in the world. But after Qing Dynasty, China started to get broken in a way, and everything has been pretty shitty for more than 100 years. So in the old days, China was actually really poor and broken and weak for more than 100 years. But in the past 50 years, China's been growing so fast that it became the second most powerful economic. So when the Western media think that China is becoming so powerful, and they will think that China might dominate the world or whatever, first of all, China never said that. And secondly, for over 1,000 years, China was already the most powerful country in the world. So right now, China is not just growing its power, it's more like restoring its state, like the old times. In China, we never say that we became the most powerful one. They have a saying in China, it's called 复兴中华. It means restoring the Chinese civilization. Personally, I don't know what's going on in the future, but I can imagine that China would be one of the most powerful countries in the world, if it's not already is. Probably the most powerful one in the future, maybe after 100 or 200 years later. So no matter how much the West trying to ignore or resist the growing of China, it will happen one way or another. So the best thing the West can do should be working with China and grow together peacefully and cooperating together. And that's exactly the idea that China wanted to do. China has been growing peacefully in the past few decades. If the West is willing to do the same, we can grow together as a whole planet. And together, we can build a more suitable place for all human beings. That's why in the past few years, China started this idea called 人类命运共同体, a shared future for humanity. China doesn't want it to start a war or any conflict. It wanted to work with other countries to grow together. So don't think of China as a threat, but more like a partner that you can work together. And don't think that China will take over your country. Trust me, they have no intention to do that. At least they never claimed they would. And in the history, even when it comes to Korea, you know that Korea wants to be like some kind of sub-country to China, but China never took over Korea for over hundreds of years. So China doesn't want to do that. When I'm living abroad, so many times when people hear that I'm from China, they will ask two quite common questions. One is about Hong Kong and another one is about Taiwan. So in this video, I want to talk a little bit about Hong Kong. First of all, Hong Kong is part of China, without any doubt. So I am Cantonese and I'm from Guangdong province. Back in the old days, Hong Kong is actually part of Guangdong. But during the Opium War and Qing Dynasty lost, so they had to sign a lease to UK that it would give out Hong Kong to UK to rule for more than 100 years. And later, in 1997, Hong Kong finally returned back to China. So totally, Hong Kong been colonized by UK for about 155 years, more or less. So as you can see, like historically speaking, Hong Kong has always been part of China. And they also speak Cantonese as well, same as me. But we have this separate system specifically for Hong Kong right now. Basically, the idea is that Hong Kong people rule Hong Kong people. They take care of themselves. That's why Hong Kong is much more free. In my opinion, Hong Kong is the only free land in China. So to China, Hong Kong is really important because it's one of the portals that is connected to the West, that the West doesn't feel really resisting. And Hong Kong is one of the most international cities in the world as well. So next time when you think about Hong Kong, it's not independent country or anything like that. It's completely Chinese. And as for Taiwan, that's a little bit different, and I will talk about it in the next video. Peace and love. In the last video, I was talking about Hong Kong, and in this video, I wanted to talk about Taiwan. Actually, it's one of the most sensitive topics that people will ask me about, my opinions about Taiwan. Internationally speaking, Taiwan belongs to China. In the whole world, most of the country recognized Taiwan as part of China. There's only a really few countries saying that Taiwan is a country. And those countries who recognize Taiwan as a country, you probably never heard of this country at all. They're so tiny. But Taiwan is not really completely belong to China. It has a whole really complicated history related. First of all, most people in Taiwan, they are Chinese, that's for sure. And actually most of the people in Taiwan, they came from not the province called Fujian province. So back in the old days, there were two parties in China. And one wing, that's the Communist Party, that's ruling the China right now. And another party is Nationalist Party. They lost, so they fled to Taiwan and they took over Taiwan for a long time. That's why, in a way, Taiwan is kind of independent, but still connected to China. And for us, we will need some special visa to go to Taiwan. And same goes with Taiwan to come to mainland. It's kind of tricky. And also another thing that people ask me the most is that would China start a war with Taiwan? First of all, China doesn't like to start a war, and secondly, starting a war with Taiwan doesn't make any sense. It's not profitable. It doesn't make sense for Chinese government to do that. If they wanted to take over Taiwan, they would done that already, long time ago. They want Taiwan to willingly come back to China by itself peacefully. Because only in this way, Taiwanese people would think that they actually belong to China, not by force. And also, the most valuable thing in Taiwan is not just the land, it's also the technology and things like that. So if you just take it over by force, you will lose all of this. It doesn't make sense. It's not a logical choice to invade Taiwan by force. And Chinese people, especially China government, they are a very practical country. They don't care about ideology, they don't care about religions and things like that. It doesn't matter to them. All they care about is profit and practical use. That's why it can work with Russia, it can work with the United States, it can work with Europe, it can work with Iran, Middle East, Middle West, whatever. It doesn't matter which country you are. As long as you are willing to work with us, we will always try to find a common ground with you, regardless of your political ideology or religions. In the earlier videos, I talk about that China or Chinese people, they don't really care about ideology of politics or religion, not so much. But they do have one bottom line, is the China unity, especially when it comes to the land. That's why they are very sensitive about Taiwan. First of all, China will never give up Taiwan. Never. Because this is their bottom line. They will most likely not invade Taiwan as well. So hopefully, Taiwan will come back to China peacefully. China doesn't want to invade other countries or take over other countries. But if you take the land from China, they will fight you for sure. Personally speaking, well, first of all, I'm not a patriot, so for me, I don't really care that much. But I cannot avoid the fact that I am Chinese. So for the benefit of my own living speaking, I do prefer China that is much more powerful, growing much faster, and become one of the best countries in the world. Because as long as my country is powerful, when I'm living outside, I wouldn't be looked down in a way. Because they will know that I'm from a really powerful country. Even though I hate the idea of nationalists and stuff like that, and I never claim myself to be loving my country, but still you cannot avoid the fact that you do belong to this country. And when other people see you, they are seeing not just you, but you as the citizen of your country. It's impossible to avoid. I know it's not going to be in my time, but maybe after a few hundred years or something, there will be no countries at all. The whole human race will be united as one. We are not going to be needing any borders and things like that. And in order to achieve that, we will have to unlimited resources for the whole human race, which is still difficult. Maybe when the cold fusion finally came out. So who knows? And that's always been the dream of mine for the human race, global unity. So who knows? Maybe in a few hundred years, if we didn't end ourselves first.